Hello, everyone. I am getting a lot of requests on LinkedIn, WhatsApp, Telegram, etc. About questions how to switch to data engineering. So there are, there are a couple of type of users or the developers. First type is they know some programming language, and second type is they don't know any programming language and they want to switch to data engineering. So I prepared some steps, and this is for data engineering. This is not about data science, and I hope you know the difference. If you are looking for switch to data science, maybe this video is not for you. So if you're looking for switching to data engineering, then this video is for you. And these are just my suggestions. Please feel free to change or fine tune or do as per your needs. So one first thing you should do is you should know some programming language. So one of the data engineering framework, and which is very popular and highly in demand, is Apache Spark, Spark. And Spark. So I'll go through these steps. You can write the Spark code in Python, Scala, R, or Java. Python and Scala are mostly used. I don't know anyone using R honestly for Scala, for Spark. Java I have seen some companies using, but mostly it's Scala and Python. So I'll start with that. So if you are new to data engineering world and you want to switch, then first thing you should do, you should learn Python or Scala. You should learn one of these. And if you know Python already and you're good in Python, then you can ignore this point and move on to the next point. So if you know Java, then maybe you can learn Scala or Python, and it's your choice. I will recommend you start, if you don't know any programming language, any of these programming languages, then start with Python. And you don't have to be expert in Python. You just learn the basic fundamentals and concepts of Python. And Python is one of the easiest languages to learn. So how to learn? You can go to YouTube or Coursera. They provide free courses on Python, or you can go to Udemy. Udemy courses are not expensive, they're pretty cheap. So you can go to Udemy also to learn Python or Scala. Now, one of the things is when you are learning Python or Scala, and you have taken some course either on YouTube or Coursera or Udemy or any other, or a book or any other mechanism you are using to learn, whatever examples they show you in the video or in whatever course you have taken, please write those examples yourself and learn it. So for Python, you can use PySpark as a IDE to write the code. PySpark is also free. If you are learning Scala, then you can use IntelliJ. That is also free. You can download the free version. It's pretty good. Free versions are pretty good. So what I would recommend is, if you are new, learn Python. If you have some experience or something and you know Python already, it doesn't harm to refresh or learn Scala also. In an ideal world, you would want to know both languages, but start with Python. And when you are learning via whatever course, don't copy paste the programs. Write the programs yourself in whatever ID you are using for Python, PyCharm, or for Scala, IntelliJ, or you can. There are various other IDs. You can, if you're comfortable with some other ID, please feel free to use that. So as I said, Spark code can be written in Python or Scala or Java or R. Mostly Scala or Python are used. Some companies use Java also. I think it's some, but I don't have the data, so I can't claim that some companies or many companies use. Once you have gotten handle on Python, then next thing you should do is practice bit of SQL. If you know the SQL already, then you can skip this process. And here also, you don't need to be expert in SQL. And there are various free courses available on SQL. You can learn from this, or you can check any YouTube videos, and you don't need to be expert. Just start from basic and slowly practice while learning data engineering. So you can have some basic understanding of SQL, the select, insert, update, delete, various variable classes, joins, types of joins, group by, and things like this. So get those, learn those from any of these sources. And then you can, once you have the basic understanding of SQL, you can start learning Spark, point number 5. And parallelly with Spark, you can practice SQL also. So SQL, you can learn as much as you want. I'm sorry. Now, how do you learn SQL? There are many options. You can use MySQL, or you can use Postgres. You can install those Postgres and MySQL on your local laptop, and there are easy instructions. I have given link to install MySQL. You can just, if it is Windows or Mac or whatever, you can go to this website and install on your laptop. Your laptop should be of some good configuration, 8 GB RAM possibly, and and then you can practice on your laptop itself, and you can follow the instructions here. It's pretty easy. For MySQL, once you install MySQL, you can go to your command prompt on Windows or Mac or whatever. Even if you're using Linux, you can go to your prompt and type MySQL. It will ask for the user ID password, which you would have used, which you have given during the setup itself. So whatever during installation of MySQL or Postgres, Postgres, I don't remember whether it asks during the installation or you have to set up separately. But for MySQL, it will ask the user ID password during the setup. And you can remember that and use that to log in. And so you go to your command line, just type MySQL, and it will ask the user ID password. Just give that in your login, and then it will show you MySQL console, MySQL command prompt, and there you can write all the SQL statement which you're practicing. Or there are some online web browser based servers also. So you can search for MySQL online practice, and it will show you some links. So you can go through these links, and they will already show you the SQL console. Just type your SQL statement and you can practice there as well. This is some link you can exercise. This is W3 School, which is free. This is also free. You can learn from here, and there are some exercises, MySQL exercise. You can practice those exercises from this link. So this will give you some reasonable understanding of SQL. You don't need SQL to start learning Spark, honestly, but data engineering has a lot of data, and SQL seems to be the one way of managing the data. There are, in Spark, either you can use SQL or data frame, and you will know once you learn the Spark. So it's better to know SQL. And as I said, you did not be expert in SQL. You should know the basic concept of SQL, learn few basic things from here, practice from basic things from here, and then you're good to go. And you can do this 4 and 5 parallelly also, honestly. You don't have to do 4 and wait for this to be over and then start 5. You can learn SQL and parallelly learn Spark as well. So now we'll go to Spark. How do you learn? So before we go to learning of Spark, there are various frameworks in data engineering space. You don't have to learn all at the same time. If you know Spark and if you know Hive, and I'll have next point about Hive also, you're good. You will there are a lot of jobs about Spark in the market, and if you know Spark and Hive, job wise, finding a job in the data engineering space will not be a problem. You will be able to easily find that out. But after I have given the roadmap also. So after you learn Spark and Hive, then what are the next steps? So that I'll talk about later. So so there are plenty of frameworks in data engineering space. Some are commercial and many are open source. So learning Spark and Hive can give you a good starting point. So we'll focus only on these two to start with. So as I said, lots of jobs for Spark in the market, and both Spark and Hive are open source and free. So you can learn Spark from YouTube. I mean, I don't know any link, but if you Google or YouTube search, you might find some resources to learn. Or I know there are some courses on Udemy. Or you can watch watch my video. I have taken a Spark course. It's approximately 7-hour video, starting from basics, what is data, big data, and then what is distributed file system, which you will need to understand if you are using Hive, and for that matter even Spark also. And then basics of Spark, and then slowly it goes towards advanced concepts of Spark, and then ultimately towards then it talks about how to optimize the Spark jobs and things like this. So go through this video. It might help you learning Spark. And now, how do you practice Spark? So you need some place where you can write the code. So there are two options. You can download the Spark on your local and set up on your local. I have given in the description of this, there are instructions how to set that up on local. I have given a Docker image link, and if you go to the Docker image link, it will show step by step how to set it up, that Spark image on your local machine. So either you on your local, either you can download Spark yourself and run it on your local mode. That will work. Or you can use the Docker image given in the description of this YouTube video. Or third option is you can have a Databricks community account. It's free, but they will give you, I think, one node cluster or something. And so you can get the free account there, and you can log into that, and on the browser you can write the Spark command or things like this, and you will be able to run your Spark code on Databricks also, on Databricks notebooks also. So two options: on your local or on your Databricks. On your local, again there are two options: download and install Spark yourself, run that in local mode, or Spark has some cluster manager for getting the cluster manager, which you can run in the local mode. And or second option is download the Docker Spark Docker image, Spark 3.3. Details, the URL of the Docker image in the description of this link, and start a Docker container whenever you need, and log into the Docker container, run your Spark code there, and then once you're done, you can stop the container. Once you have learned Spark, the next step is learn Hive. So these are few things. Again, for Hive, you can learn there. So you can do some YouTube search, or on Udemy there are courses on Hive. Hive is mostly SQL, so you can run your SQL. I'm sorry, you can run your SQL in Hive, but the way RDBMS runs SQL and the way Hive runs SQLs are very different. So you need to know the difference. You need to know Hive concepts. Hive runs your SQL on a cluster in a distributed mode. So how does it run? What is the Hive configuration? What are the internal table, external tables and internal tables, and what are partitions? How to fine tune your Hive queries? What are the query engines? For example, one query engine is Taze, which is fast. Other query engine in Hive is Spark. So Spark is in framework, but it is query engine also in Hive. So you need to know Hive concepts, but it will be easier. It's not as lengthy or as complex as Spark is. Actually, Spark is not complex. Once you understand, it's easy. But the effort you need to spend in learning Spark is more compared to Hive. So once you learn Spark and you have some understanding of SQL, learning Hive will not be a big deal. You still have to spend some time learning Hive concepts. So once you know these two, these things, you have learned Python or Scala, one of the programming language. You are aware about SQL. You have learned Spark. You have learned Hive. That's it. You are good to go. You can become a very good data engineer. Then what is the next step? The roadmap. So I would prefer you do a Spark project. So there's a TPCDS, framework. So you can Google search TPCDS, and you can go to their website. And what they have is they have the sort of retail schema, and they have some tools to generate the data for that schema also. So you can go through that and use that tool to generate the data. They will ask you, you want to generate 1 GB of data, 10 GB, 100 GB, 1 terabyte, 10 terabytes. I think 10 terabytes they provide. I think they provide for 100 terabytes also. So if you really want to practice some, code, then you can either go there, or other option is that I have created the 1 GB of data using TPCDS and have made that data available on this link. And let me open that link. And along with the data, so this is the see the data. This is the data for many tables. And what are these tables? I'll talk about that as well. This is the data in big data space. You work with the files, and these are those files. You need to download those files on your environment, whether local or whatever, and there you can practice. So this is the data. And what this data is, there are so many tables you see, right? Call center, date, catalog, inventory, item. So there will be sales also somewhere. So what this data represent is the schema of this data is here. So you can see the schema. These are the PNG images. You can go through the schema. This I have taken from the TPCDS file itself. So data is there. The schema of the data is there. Then the projects are also there. So they have given 3-4 problem statements. I think 3 problem statement, if I remember correct. So go through this, understand this problem statement, and write the Spark code for this. Don't use Spark SQL. Use once you go through Spark, then either you can use Spark SQL, or you can use data frame APIs. I recommend to use data frame API to solve these problems. You will learn more there. And the next thing which you do is so there are some important notes. So you can data is pipe character separated in text format. It's 1 GB in size, and the count a count is for each of these tables for 1 GB. This is the count. This I also have taken from the TPCDS PDF. So this is the count for each of the tables for which I had shown you the data, this data. So you can download or copy this data onto your on your environment, whether it's local machine or database or wherever, and run some, so try to solve this, these problem statements which are given in the project. So this will give you some good understanding of Spark. Then after you have done this, you can learn Airflow, Kafka. These are very important tools to learn, especially Kafka. And Airflow uses Python. So learn these two, starting from Kafka, I would say. Learn Kafka first and then learn Airflow. This will add a lot of, weight to your skill set. And if you have some, opportunity to work on any cloud because your company uses it, or you have some free credits for any cloud like Azure or or Google or something, then Azure Data Factory, I keep hearing a lot many companies are using it. That is on Azure cloud, which is from Microsoft, or you can use Google, practice Google BigQuery, that is from Google. And you have to log into GCP, Google Cloud Platform. I'm sorry. So this you practice if you have access to this clouds. If you don't have access, then you can skip that. Flink is again another thing which you can learn. This is again Airflow, Kafka are open source and free. Flink is also open source and free. You can learn this. There are many more frameworks to learn. There are some commercial commercial frameworks also, but to start with this, and if you're in your project, in your company, you are using some other framework, then preferably you learn that. But these are Spark and Hive are the foundations. These are the first things you should learn, and after that you should learn these things as well, starting from Airflow and Kafka, and others on need basis you can learn. So that's about it. Hope you like this video. If there's any problem or anything, then please feel free to comment, and hopefully me or someone will advise you. Thank you very much.